our opponent puts us all in. Against any other player, I probably fold the turn and for sure fold the river. What is up? I apologize for the massive gap in videos, but we have been crazy busy. All will be explained in the future videos, what's going on, what's happening. But until then, let's get into this action. We're back at Spades for the journey. We buy in for $400. This game we sit in has been going all night long. It's early in the morning. They're very deep stacked. There's one pro for sure playing. Looking back, I probably have no business in this game. The first hand I get into, there is one limp, and in the hijack, I raise to $40 with king queen offsuit. The small blind, an action player who has become a subscriber to the channel, thank you, and has been playing since I left last night, calls. We are heads up to a flop that is 10-3-5 with 2 spades. The small blind checks to us. This is a very good board to continuation bet on, and I don't think I need to go large here on this texture, so I bet $35. The opponent thinks for a few seconds and decides to make the call. The turn is a 6 of hearts. The small blind checks to us once again, and this card doesn't change much unless he has some unlikely holding of 4-7 or a random 2 pair. I decide, since I downsized my flop bet, that if I go 2/3 pot now, it will look like a very large bet, and that's what I do. I make it $110. The small blind now tanks for a while, and fortunately for us, he lays it down and I pick up a good pot on a bluff. In this next hand, there's a straddle on the button from the same player as the last hand, and a raise to $25 in the big blind with 1 call. I look down at pocket 4s and make the call in order to set mine, and now it's on the button and he 3-bets to $75. The big blind in early position make the call. I don't really like this situation I'm in, but it's $50 more to me with a pot of $250. I'm getting 5-1 on this call. The odds of hitting a set are about 7.5 to 1, but if you throw in implied odds, this is a slam dunk. So I do that, and the flop comes down. Queen 10-6. Not the flop I was hoping for. It now checks to the button, who bets very small of $60. The big blind makes the call and early position folds. I have no justification for making this call, even though I'm getting 7-1. So it's a pretty easy fold, and that's exactly what I go ahead and do. This game is sitting very deep and playing very large, much more like a 5-10 or 10-20 game. So when I look down at ace of hearts, king of diamonds with a straddle on the button and the big blind calls the $6, I decide to raise to $45, and it folds around and I pick this one up. Haven't been sitting in the game that long, and once again in the hijack with 2 limps to the under the gun straddle, I raise to $40 with king queen offsuit. I get 1 caller, the big blind, and we are heads up to a flop that is king of spades, 8 of spades, 10 of clubs. The big blind checks to me. I flop top pair, which is good, but with straights and flush draws out there, I'm going to size up and I make a bet of $65. The big blind checks his cards a few times before ultimately making the call. Heads up to the turn, which is now the 2 of spades. It's not the worst card in the deck, but nor the best card in the deck. I do hold the queen of spades though. The big blind checks once again, and the pot is getting large and my stack isn't, making this an awkward sizing, I feel like. So I choose to check back. And I'm not sure if that's correct, but either way, the river comes the 10 of spades pairing the board. And our opponent now donk leads for pot of $225. Fuck. I take a second to think what he has here, and it's hard because we hold the queen of spades. So, I mean, if he's donking the ace of spades, I guess I understand, and I just don't think I can let this go. So I make the call, and he quickly rolls over 2 red 8s for a full house, and I quickly learn we were never ahead in this hand. On to the next. With $55 remaining in my stack after this pot, I decided to walk to the cage and rebuy myself for $500. As I'm gone, the very next hand is dealt, and I make it back just as this guy is trying to fold my hand. Whoa there, buddy. I might have something good. Samadana. So we are dealt an Omaha hand where I get King King 9-5 with one suit. It is a straddled pot of $6 on the button. There are 2 calls and it's on me. There is for sure no merit in raising this hand as it really isn't that strong and I'm not going to get many folds anyway. I complete the $6, the cutoff calls, and the button checks. We are 5 ways to a flop that is 7 of spades, 8 of hearts, 3 of diamonds. Action checks around and the turn is the 3 of hearts. There are 2 checks and now no one seems interested. I have an inside straight draw and 2 pair. I decide to take a stab for 15 bucks. The cutoff calls and early position calls. The river is now another 3. Early position checks, and with the 3rd nuts, I decide to bet $20, looking to get a call. The cutoff, who is very tight player, decides to raise to $60. Early position folds, and this play is never, ever doing this with aces. So I make the fold and show my kings, to which he shows us his 3 of spades for quads. I think this was a pretty good fold. Maybe an easy fold for most, but maybe not. I was happy with my play. Okay, here we go. A few hands later, I look down at the red rockets. No, wait, I don't think I should describe them like that. I have aces and they are red, diamond and heart. There is a straddle on the button to $6 from another pro player with a stack of about $4,000. The small blind and big blind fold, and as you can see, I meant to make it $30, but one chip dropped off, and rather than hesitating and picking it back up, I just threw out the 25. The loose action player in the hijack makes the call, as does the button straddle. 3 ways to a pretty decent flop of Queen of Diamonds, 3 of Diamonds, 8 of Hearts. I am first to act here, and with 2 players behind, I really want to size up. I decide on a bet of $75. The cutoff folds, and sadly the button makes the call. So now we're heads up to a turn that is the 7 of diamonds. Our opponent only holds the flush here about 30% of the time, but since I have the ace of diamonds, it's even less than that, and I really should be leading out here with a bet. I decide, though, in game, playing the hand very weird, to check with some intentions to check raise jam if he bets anything below 150, as no matter what, I have equity against any hand he holds. But our opponent decides to bet for a larger sizing of 185, which typically is very strong and really makes me rethink my check raise jam because it doesn't have any fold equity when my stack is only around 415, unlike a bet of $140 if he made it, which allows us a full 3x check raise. I for sure think I really messed this hand up badly by oddly checking the turn. I feel like exploitatively this player 3-bets the button with hands like ace queen or king queen suited, so I kind of rule those out, but more likely flats in position to my raise with like king queen off, and could very well have the king of diamonds here he's making this play with. It's possible. It's possible he has the flush, but to me in the moment it was just as possible he was betting 1 pair with a flush draw. Or I mean, I guess you can always put in 2 pair, but there's a lot of unlikely 2 pairs in there that he would call on the button with, knowing this player. So with the nut redraw, I think I'm just too strong to fold here, so I go ahead and make the call, and the river comes the 4 of spades. The bad part about making the call is I didn't develop a plan for the river, especially if my hand didn't improve. So now I just tank and ultimately decide to check. I'm just in like poker god heaven praying for a miracle check back, but that doesn't happen. Our opponent puts us all in. Against any other player, I probably fold the turn and for sure fold the river. Let's listen in for a second as I try to get a read on my opponent. Why? Why you? Why does it have to be you? If you get there, you only want to talk when you got quads. That's the only time you want to talk?
I'm sure I don't have quads this time.
I know you don't have quads this time. You're just... capable of making this play, and that's what bothers me. I'll probably fold like turn to everyone else. But you're also capable of having 2 pair here. Or diamonds. I guess it's going to be a short day for me. Yeah. Well, he shows us the 6-8 of diamonds for the flush, and as I said, it's going to be a short day for me. No need for a cash out video as I'm in for 900 and out for 0.